Everybody laugh at me for not using air tools. Well, how the hell would I get air in it anyway? It's a beautiful day out here in Springfield, and we've got a brake job to do on a nice looking, relatively fresh Chrysler 300. This one's ready for some pads. We're going to get that done today. We're going to assess for rotors, may order them in, but we definitely need pads on the rear the most, on the front kind of secondary. Just time for them, regular stuff. Beautiful car, should represent relatively quick service. We do have dual piston calipers up front. Nothing that'll challenge me. I got all my brake kits here. And of course, I got it parked all nice and funky where I can access it and not roll downhill. So let's make short work of this one. Get it up in the air, get everything chalked off. Get it up, get it out, rawhide. All right, folks, now that we can get a better view of the situation, you can see that I got depleted brake pads. It's just time for new ones. Some of this is a little bit crusty. We are going to come back and do some rotors on this car for certain, but we wanted to save some money on what those would cost locally to get some really high quality ones. Nothing right here to really report. This is an easy, straightforward brake job to do, as you have drum-on hat parking brake assemblies. Today we're going with Brakebest Select Pro from O'Reilly's, which sure does come in a fancy box. I got to hand them that. I want to keep that box. As you can see, these have a burnishing compound. Looks like a good multi-layer shim, so that should be an excellent brake pad with hardware for me. One thing to note, unfortunately the car does suffer from Chrysler lug nut disease. As you can see there, they get corrosion on the steel underneath that cap. So what used to be a 22 millimeter is like a 23.5 millimeter. So those got beat up ever so slightly on the way out, but not too bad. I'm not ashamed of it. I will recommend to the customer that we might want to get 20 lug nuts for this in case they ever have to change a tire on their own. Their spare lug wrench may not fit the car anymore. We'll test that out before we put it on the road. That being said, straightforward brake job here. Takes more time to get her lifted and secured than it does to do the job on this one so far. So let's get it cleaned up, put together, and done. That's one corner done. As you can see, the old ones were pretty thin and into their squealers. This rotor doesn't show me that it's terrible, but I believe it's within budget for us just to order 4 new great ones for this car. Interested to see what the parking brake assembly would look like inside that. We got a little bit of corrosion here. Nothing crazy though, nothing too scary. But you can see my new pads are on there looking fat and mean. These are aggressive, nice pads. Got everything marked, everything cleaned up. So, boy, it sure is nice to do brake jobs on cars that aren't 10 years old. Anyway, let's keep rocking. This one's going well. Looks like corner number 2 is pretty much the same story. Thin pads, minor corrosion to rotors, trying to make pads stick. There's a few more grooves on this one from the squealer shims. Nothing terribly wrong with the rotors, but some new ones would put it right for the next 100,000 miles. A little bit of the Chrysler lug nut disease, not too bad, but I did have to put a little bit of a stripe on them. We'll talk to the customer about that. It's much better for them to find out now than on the side of the road when the factory lug wrench don't fit. But all this seems totally serviceable, and it's not a million years old and crappy like I'm used to, so relatively quick brake job once I get the wheels off the damn thing. Anyhow, that's what's taking the most time out of all of it. Let's knock out this corner and then get onto the big dual pistons on the front. That'll be fun. Well, looks like I found the noisy one, folks. Yep, that one would be the cause of noise, vibration, and harshness. So that's definitely one rear rotor that should be done for perfection. It's going to be back in safe stopping power today, folks. I mean, we're going from that to this right here. Marriage of Figaro, you can see the difference in that right there. One has friction material and the other one's just a piece of steel. Won't take long to clean this up. Let's knock it out. Corner number 2 is installed, looking pretty, all marked up, cleaned it off real good. Again, this rotor is technically reusable, but again, we're on a different quality of car this time. The owner wants things as good as possible, so we will be back. One reason we didn't get the rotors on the first round is there's a little bit of confusion on Chrysler cars as to what the hell brake set it takes. This time around I was accurate using my context clues, but it's easy enough to get them wrong. It's a simple matter for me to go swap out store-bought pads for the correct size. I mean, the pricing wouldn't be any different if it was local. But them rotors, there's like 70, 80 bucks worth of shipping on that. Need to get that right the first time. In any event, that's looking way better. I'm sure that will stop and not make a hell of a lot of noise. There will be some noise, vibration, and harshness to be mitigated with the new rotors, but this is going to make it safe. It'll stop. No questions asked. It's going to be a hell of a lot better. Corner number 3 up in the air, and we're erasing the weather a little bit. It ain't started coming down yet, but it looks like it's clouding up fast. Good news is we're almost 2/3 of the way through the job. These new pads do look like they're going to fit that appropriately. I don't see anything too terrible here, but that inside pad's going to be really thin. Of course, we'll be back for the rotors as stated earlier. We're going to rock. We're going to knock this out. It just looks like a dual piston caliper. It's a wire. This will be easy. Down to the wire racing the weather, but it looks like I've got it good enough that I should be able to get it done and only get moderately wet if it starts coming down. Corner number 4, same deal as the others. Just time for the brakes. We're going to put the brakes on. It's going to stop a whole lot better. Nothing much to report about this. These are single piston calipers, so it ain't that damn hard. I am going to have to put something in there to daub out extra brake fluid. I believe it's going to go high on this caliper compression, but we shall see. In any event, I know this one will stop better than it did. Rock on. Eventually, we got 4 corners looking beautiful here. Signed, dated, all installed good. Got the fluid level about right for initial testing. Looks like I need to wipe that off right there. We did go a little high on it. That might stink a little bit. So I'll wipe that off. I'll inform the customer there might be a stink. Then I'm going to go bed these things in. We'll test it out. I'm always the first one to push the brake pedal, folks. Well, folks, just got done with the test drive and the beginnings of the break-in procedure, although I'm going to let the customer take care of the rest of the 30 from 30. We're going to go over that real quick in a moment. With this burnishing compound, it goes very quickly anyway, and we have old rotors. We're going to have new ones, so I don't want to overdo that and overheat those guys. But man, you can tell I was here. This drives like a totally different car. That stopping is silent. There is plenty of stopping power. That pedal is all the way at the frickin' top. So I'm just going to do a final check of brake fluid level. I'm going to let the customer know that's their responsibility to inspect that for the next day or two. And we're done. Let's put this one in the books. Howdy everybody, Wildman Willie here, and we got ourselves an idyllic, beautiful early afternoon here in Springfield. And we are back on the Chrysler 300. As you may recall, we did a top quality brake pad job on this car recently, and we needed to come back and do some rotors. Well, those rotors are here. And today we're going to be installing, well, my favorite when we can get them and when the customer will say yes. Bendix Fleet Metlock is a premium service duty rotor. These things are high carbon steel. They got all the badass coating on them. They're just straight up good, and you can tell by how heavy they are. So this is about as mean as I know how to go on a vehicle like this. Along with those pads, we should have smooth, quiet operation, and these should be very excellent for it. So not a terribly complicated job. First thing to do is to get this car one wheel off and up in the air. I had some swollen lug nuts to deal with last time. I believe I've got them mashed up where they'll be a little easier to service this time. We're going to start with that driver front, get the business knocking it out. But folks, just look at that idyllic spring. We're going to have all the blooms up on these trees soon. It's just beautiful. There's a little bit of snow up on the mountains today. Just pretty, and it's got my spirits high. So what needs to get high next is this car up off the ground. Let's give you a little bit of POV action today, what it's like to be Wildman Willie. So that was stuck as hell on there, and of course this one doesn't have any screws to push it out with, so we're down to the arm. Unfortunately, we done wore out the arm because Chrysler decided to put a bunch of yellow Loctite on the Gigantor caliper bolts as if that was necessary. And then they put that in there where that bottom one's not accessible with a ratchet. And then I had a ratchet failure. So we do it this way. We can get it done. We do have enough arm for that somehow. Yeah, it's nice and sunny, so I got my jacket off. It's nice to do that for the beginning of the year. That's the old rotor off. That's our surface. I'm going to brush this up just a little bit. Then we'll stick that new rotor on there, and it should be very quick to reinstall the caliper. And now that I won't be fighting Loctite to get it off, it should be pretty easy to go back on. Excited to see the difference between these guys. Arm day at the gym continues, but as you can see, that beautiful Bendix Fleet Metlock rotor is on there. That sure is pretty. And let's compare it. They said there was some shake on this car. There's definitely glassiness to this rotor. It's definitely had life. Some of the polish spots may have gone away with the new pads riding on there for a minute. But in any event, crusty, old, not so bad, bad enough, warped enough to cause customer issue. I don't think this is my main culprit though. That being said, look at that beautiful stuff. I mean, we got it marked Willie Jenkins, March of 24. Can't get no prettier than that. Got my Brakebest Select, Best Pro, best brake pads they had on there. Everything is marked up nice. So there's one down. Unfortunately, it's taking me way longer than I want it to without having the power of a ratchet that'll fit in there and let me get that job done. So we're definitely working hard with the forearms today. Might even have some veins sticking out from the vascularness from just trying to muscle this down, and that's 1/4 of the job ready to rock. So we'll let the customer know that I might be worn out by the time I do 2 of these. We're going to find out. We will get there one way or the other. All right, well, sometimes that's how it goes. Rinse, repeat. We still got some stubborn lug nuts, although they ain't nearly as stubborn as they were now that they've been worked multiple times for me. Using 7/8 today. Don't laugh. That's what fits best. Old rotor. This one's glassy and classy. We got a deep dug groove. And I believe we had super bad pad on the inside, so that probably looks rough. So this one is ready to go. Here's our new Bendix Fleet Metlock right here, looking beautiful, ready to install. So what am I doing that's wearing my arms out so much? Well, I'm cheating just a little bit on this process. I could remove the caliper from the bracket and then remove the bracket, but I'm just sneaking behind and grabbing the bracket as an entire assembly. As you'll see, there is, maybe you can see I'm touching it with my finger. There's Gigantor bolt there and Gigantor bolt there. Unfortunately, as you can see, there isn't much workroom right here. So a ratchet can be used for a second, but not most of the time. My big ratchet failed. So what we got? We got this. So that's how we're going to go about that, is with that. And them are massive 21mm. That's why my arms are going to be sore. First thing is to loosen this 10mm nut so that this just rotates out of the way. You don't have to take it all the way off. So that's that. And then, just like with the other side, I'm probably going to have to pound on these old rotors as they didn't give me an extractor screw point. So, nothing complicated about this. Let's get rocking. Let's get our exercise. Okay, there's the second one off, and it was a little less stubborn. Still just as much badass. Both arms, all you got to get them bad boys out with a hand wrench. That was fun. But the rotor was not nearly as stuck to this hub as the other side. Some minimal cleanup required. Dust some of that off a little bit. Get that put back on there, bolted up. Client does need to be on patrol to go do baby pickup at 2 o'clock. I got 45 minutes left. It's going to take 10 or 15 to get this part together, but I'm afraid my shoulders are going to be about done if they've got a schedule to meet. We will see. Let me get this one on there and I'll see where I'm at with it. Just takes a long time to get this car jacked up. In any event, I got plenty of energy. Just I'm getting older, and that kind of makes my shoulders sore a little bit. We can do it. It's all about the time crunch. Let's see what we can knock out. All right. Tighten up the bolts the hard way. Tighten up the bolts the hard way. I'll tighten them up. I'll tighten them up. Don't smash hands. One turn at a time. At least it don't cost me a dime. I believe we got that closed about enough now. We're gonna get that in there. Let's see. Oh yeah. Now we're cooking with gas. Check it with the handle. Let's jet, we'll cruise at hyperspeed. You got the beat, I got the beat, and that's all we need. Everybody laugh at me for not using air tools. Well, how the hell would I get air in it anyway? I'm not so stubborn as to not use it where I got to. Closing. All right. Get it? Good. All right. Pull bar action on that. Secure it. Tight. I'd say that's tight, folks. All right, my arms and shoulders are about tired, but that's 2 beautiful rotors installed. As you can see, marked real nice. Everything marked where it should be. That's ready to rock right there, Captain. Woo, that took my arms a little bit of time. My shoulder, that's a good strong shoulder. Well, I'm getting a little bit older, folks. It's harder to do some of these things. So they're on a time budget. I still got 30 minutes left of that time budget, but I don't foresee the back ones getting done in that amount of time. Yeah, so what we're going to see about is come back in the morning to finish the other 2, or see them later this evening. One or the other, whatever suits their boat. But we got a beautiful week. It's not too late. They got plenty of good work done, and that's probably the main shake on this car. In any event, that's that part. Let's get the wheel on it. All right, there's the 2 glassy, scabby ones off the car. Bosch made them. You'd think this was a Mercedes-Benz E355 underneath or something crazy like that. Got it sitting on the ground, got it looking good. Show off how not good them rotors look. Then will be tomorrow morning. How good these look. Of course, that coating's not going to stay on the surface material or the braking surface very long, but it'll remain on the hat and on the edge and everywhere else. And that just disappears inside this rim. That looks beautiful. On the other side, same deal. Marked, installed tight. Disappearing rotors. Again, they're going to have a chrome stripe on them here after this test drive. I got just enough time to go drive this around and make sure this is quiet free, begin that braking process for them, and then I'll hand them the slip of paper that comes with them that tells them about the rest of the break-in procedure. So there's the front half done. We'll be back on this bottom half tomorrow. Post test drive, we got ourselves a happy car, and as you can see, the coating rubs off of the rotor except for the rest of it. But that's going to look nice and pretty in there, be corrosion resistant. Folks, I hate them lug nuts. I had to come back and make an adjustment on that. Them suck. I'm going to recommend a replacement of all of them, and we might just go with acorns or some spikes, something without this chrome cover on it. But that's all good. This car's stopping quiet and smooth like it should. I can't feel anything going on with the back rotors. They're more safe than they've ever been. Same deal up front on this side. Braking procedure mostly done. I'm going to give them the card that comes with it, but she's a happy car. She's stopping well and it's all together, and I got 3 minutes left to get the thing out the door, so looks like I made good time. There it is. It's just so freaking nice out here, folks. That's in the 60s, maybe the low 70s. Feels like 100 to me. Might be 55. I don't care. It's nice out here. So, Wildman Willie back on day 3 on the Chrysler 300 brake pad and rotor job. We are back. We've got it lifted up. There's our old rotor. Not the worst I've ever seen. We got Bendix Fleet Metlock to go back on. There's those new pads. This one's pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and take the caliper all the way down rather than just going after the back side of the bracket for further inspection. We're going to get this one knocked out today, though, finally. Man, them lug nuts knocking me out. They're taking longer to get on and off the car and lifting it than it is to do the brake work on this, of course. But no big deal. We're through the worst of it. We got our shoulders back together in one piece. I'm going to knock those 2 bolts out, remove this caliper, set it on my little stand, go after the 2 back bolts, clean it up, knock this one off, install a new one, rawhide. Making good progress. Won't call it short work. Boy, Chrysler did it again with the Loctite caliper bracket bolts. These guys right here. Yellow, thankfully not red on that one. But got that off finally. Glad I brought my arms with me because that's an 18 millimeter. And that's how we're going about it. Got our hillbilly impact here for don't get them moving. But they spin free until you hit that Loctite, and then they just suck all the way out. So my next step is just to dedust this. Get this inside parking brake drum. Or, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Parking brake shoes cleaned up, dusted off so I can install my new rotor. Shouldn't take me too long on this part. Again, longer to jack up the car than it is to work on. She can see she's been spinning right around like a record baby, right round. Got some grooving on the inside. We will make a dramatic improvement with this. First, I want to clean up as much of the lip surface as possible. Make sure nothing's rough. Make sure everything's as clean as I can, functionally clean as I can get it. Let's rock. Darn, guys, that's just sexy. I'm gonna have to. I can't get too turned on here looking at these brake parts. Man, we did it right. Brakebest Select Pro brake pads. My green markings. Bendix Fleet Metlock, looking beautiful there. All marked up nice. Of course, the wheel hides that particular portion of the hat. All my marks are where they should go. Nothing to report here except to expect good things. Let's pump these lug nuts off and get this wheel back on and do the next one. As you can see, she was groovy. This new one ain't groovy. It'll be all black like that for about 4 seconds, and then of course it'll leak the paint off, and that'll make noise for the first few seconds, but damn, that's the way that ought to look. Ooh, folks, what a workout today. I mean, I'm getting that workout. Want to talk about a bunch of stubborn bolts and swollen lug nuts and just all the fun things, but here we are. Look at this ugly old rotor. Let's see if we can snatch it off. Ah! Okay, what do we got here? Not terribly groovy on this side comparatively. Got a little bit of a ridge. Bad enough. Ugly. Needs to go. Same kind of deal on the front side. Glassy, classy, a little shiny. Nothing crazy about it. Off the car she is. Next step is to clean up all these shoes. Scrub some of this rust off this mating surface so we mount flush. Get rid of that dust. Clean up our caliper again. Gonna rebrush my pads with the wire brush. We're gonna make sure everything is just perfect here. Last one to go. I've been rocking and rolling on this one in the sun. It's been a good week and I've been working hard, but I am ready for a little time off this weekend maybe. We'll see. So I'm excited to finish this one up. Just a little more work to go, and then we got a car on the ground in Funky Town. Wow, just look at that beautiful brake job, folks. Let's make it even prettier. W, J, March the 24th. Come on, we were here. I retightened that. So we'll mark it. And these guys are nice and tight. So we're gonna mark them up proper. Shows I was here. Shows I made them tight. Right, then there's a 4-wheel brake job complete on this Chrysler 300. My next step is to put the wheel on and do a light test drive. I'm going to make it a light test drive. We're going to be nice to these aggressive pads and rotors here on our break-in period. They tell you to do the 30 from 30. I'm starting on some of these. Maybe I'm too aggressive. I've had an issue or two in the past. Just take them through town at normal speed, folks. That's what you do. Red lights. That'll take care of it. Anyway, this is on and this is ready to rock. Let's get the wheel on. Let's test her all out. I only have to fight the stubborn lug nuts one more time going back on it, and then I'm done with them guys. We'll get new ones before we service anything else on the back of this car. Anyway, there's that. Let's find out about it.